Call this to order, and please project. We've got the air conditioning drowning out everything up here. So, what? Okay. Bob, call the roll call.
Okay, Dutchess County, Nicholas Trio.
Here.
Dave Violante. Joan Siebert. Tim Murphy.
Here.
Matt Nolan.
Here.
Pete Chanella. Dee Sagendorf.
Here.
Guy Carpico. I saw you. Orange County, Joanne Cheney. Ben Conks.
Here.
Eileen Mancuso. Andy Lamarca.
Here.
Israel Knobloch.
Here.
Terry Barbie. Frank Cassanite. Dawn Marshall. Putnam County, Bob Cuomo. Yeah, here.
You looked up.
I had to look up, yeah. Dave Jacobson.
Here.
Matt Bondi.
Here.
Albert Jacobs. Rockland County, Kim Lippis.
Here.
Nick Rusecki. Nick, going once, going twice.
I haven't seen him. He didn't call you yet. You're right.
Mike Murphy. No, Mike.
No.
Desiree Leone.
Nope.
No Desiree. Glenn Albin.
Here.
Just walked in.
Deborah Stewart. Bernice Garotti. B.J. Leidner. Sullivan County, Albie Bachman.
Here.
Greg Tavermina. Neil. Yeah, okay. You're here? Yeah, okay. Heidi Stack. Carrie Jara. Matt Goldsmith. Ulster County, Rich Parrish.
Here.
Kelly Nelson.
Here.
Richard.
No,
Yeah, Richard.
he's not
He's
here.
not here? Okay. Dorothy Balin.
Here.
Chad Burkhart.
No.
Oh, okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you.
Good morning.
All right. Minutes were distributed. Any additions or corrections to the minutes as distributed? If not, motion's in order. Andy, Nick. All right, I have a couple letters. Putnam County, Hudson Valley Regional EMS Council, to whom it may concern. This is to inform you that the following individuals are being resubmitted for delegate or all positions on Hudson Valley Regional EMS Council. Delegate David Jacobson, term expires 6/30/21. Robert Cuomo, Vice President.
Sorry, Dave. No, just kidding.
All right. Dutchess County EMS. Greetings. At the last meeting of Dutchess County EMS Council, the following changes were made to our HVREMSCO delegates and alternates. Tim Murphy was reappointed as a delegate. Matt Nolan was reappointed as a delegate. Any questions? Tim Murphy, President, Dutchess County EMS. That's it. All right. Treasurer's report. Who's got that?
I have. Do we need a motion to accept those, or?
Do we? If so,
I think we usually do. You make a motion?
all right. Andy, second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thanks, Andy. Keep me honest. All right, Treasurer's report.
Okay, since the last meeting, which was February 15th, to now, the treasurer wrote 33 checks for $49,000. Most of the checks went to rent and healthcare benefits. All other individual bills, none of them exceeded 500, so there's no detail on them. If anybody wants to see them, we have that. And there was a $30,000 quarterly transfer to payroll. As far as deposits, we had the third quarter program agency payment for $54,596, and that's what we billed, and we received $54,614 because we got $18.20 in interest, because they were late on their billing because the state was closed. The fourth quarter council, we billed $8,799, and that's what we were paid. In this time frame, we also received $7,500 from AMFAR for the naloxone program, and on the payroll account, we received in the $30,000 that we transferred. And that's it. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Another question, Bill. Hearing it over at City Council about the cutbacks or the budget issues, we're not in any danger, are we, as far as any of the program agency or the...
No, the program agency and the council are in a different part of the EMS budget for the Bureau of EMS, and what they cut back with the local services of EMS, of the Bureau. So all the money in the educational part and the program agency and council was protected. There was a substantial cut in budget, it was almost $500,000 at the Bureau of EMS this year, and it all came out of their side.
How is that going to impact EMS for that much of it?
They're shelving a lot of programs.
Yeah.
One of the things that they talked about, and I was going to talk about it at the state report, but at education and training, there was no report about regional faculty, so I'm not sure what's going on with it. And Andy said it's dead. They were planning on pulling all regional faculty in and making them contractors for the state so we could go out and do audits and things like that, just be an assistant to their staff, and they have no funding. That program right now, they said the word dead, but afterwards somebody said it's on the shelf, but it doesn't look very healthy. It's on life support. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, they're cutting back on a lot of stuff. They can't fill a lot of positions, so it doesn't look good for them. In fact, one comment was made to me, they're waiting for their furlough letters.
And there is no recourse, as far as final,
Yep.
That's a good budget.
both the governor now.
It's not really a governor's budget.
But it's typical of what everybody in government thinks of EMS. We're the stepchild. We don't need them, right?
If you actually look at
Until
the,
they need it.
That's right.
if you look at the details, back, I think it was about 2008 maybe, it was a $20 million budget, and now it's down to about a $15 million. So it's almost a 25% cut in budget over the last, not even 10 years.
When we used to work on budget, what would happen was that 50% of the budget was education and training. So we would know that if we had a $10 million education and training, that this department would have training.
I can't hear you, Andy, that
I'm sorry,
department
that
what?
the department would be funded for 20 million. And the problem was also that we were starting to see with the education side, the way funding went for courses, a lot of the funds were never expended because people didn't pass exams and didn't get reimbursed. So that side kept eroding down and started to shrink. So it went down to let's say $8 million, and we only get $60 million for the whole department. And now the budget is actually run a little bit differently, but education still is protected for the most part. But the rest of it is just for the rules.
Goes down to EMS is not an essential service in the eyes of government.
That's right. And that's,
That's the big issue.
That has to be pushed forward and passed, because if not,
I guess we should all be contacted again.
there's a Senate bill, I don't have it on me, but there is a bill out there right now.
The Senate bill?
yep, and I
The
may
EMS
have
is
it.
essential services is the wording of it, so.
Essential? Okay. We have a really proactive radio with Dutchess County, that we
Dee, I'm sorry, you gotta raise your voice. You have the air conditioner. By the name
right
of
over
who?
your head. We have a very proactive senator who is in Dutchess County by the name of Sue Serino. So anybody who is in Dutchess County and in the district should be contacting her as far as EMS goes and see what we can get done. See what she can do for us.
But Bill was referring to the local government committee, where it's gone to 3 times before and has died. So,
I believe the number is, and I don't have the acronym before, but 2770 is the mandated.
I'm pretty sure associations of towns will lobby against it.
Yeah.
Sorry, you know.
All right, well,
That's beyond me.
so past that, all right. Any other questions on the treasury report? If not, a motion is in order to accept it. D, second.
Gotta speak for me, Dee, sorry. You guys gotta verbalize for me, because this doesn't go on the record.
Please.
Same Randy.
No further discussion, any, all in favor? All right, regional staff report.
Okay, we've had a kind of a busy time. We still have some pediatric cards, if anybody still needs them or is interested in them. I think Karen put them outside.
They're out there, yep.
That you can pick up a couple of them if you want. It's new and improved from EMS. We spent a lot of time doing the 2017 collaborative protocol rollout. We completed all the providers in the region, approximately 700 in the Hudson Valley, and we assisted Westchester with their 300. So we did over 1,000 ALS provider upgrades on our website. And we're still working on the medical control physicians now. They've gone a little bit slower. We got about 60% of them done, so we keep working with them. We also had to create new testing process, new tests for all the people coming in that are becoming paramedics now. So we created all new tests. We've created the retests, and we've also created a new MFI test because MFI is now changed to RSI. That is back to RSI now. We still need to create an AEMT exam because that's a level that's going to be brought into our region shortly. The check and inject instructor materials were released last week. They're on the website for instructors on the Bureau of EMS. It's a little bit different than the original pilot program. The original pilot program was an injection into the thigh. The instructor's video that they have there actually gives it in the deltoid muscle. So it's a little bit different there from what it was. And the syringe was a metered syringe with only two lines for filling, and the syringe, it can be any syringe now as per the check and inject program as it passed with the Bureau. There was a new stroke protocol discussed at CMAC, but there was not a quorum. It was lost before they were able to vote on it, so that's not something that we're going to be involved with yet. It's only a change in time. As you know, Shiva Hatzola of Rockland has submitted a new course sponsorship application, and they've applied to conduct the AEMT classes there. RTAC met last week, and we had a Stop the Bleed instructor class after that. Stop the Bleed is a program supported by the American College of Surgeons to put tourniquets and quick clot next to the AED that's hanging in your supermarket or your gym or wherever it is. So they're working towards that. The RTAC also produced and presented the final report on door-to-decision time for performance improvement. Door-to-decision time for the performance improvement project of last year, and they're working on one for patient transportation with O2 for the next up-and-coming year. The collaborative protocols that we talked about before actually separated the clinical care from policy and procedures, and at the region now we're working on creating new comprehensive policy manual that will incorporate everything that was taken out of the collaborative protocols that will be put into a separate policy manual. We expect that to be ready to go and reviewed at the next protocol committee meeting, and it should be made available to everybody shortly after that.
Will that be an electronic version?
It will not be an app. if that's what you're asking. It will be available electronically as a PDF, but we don't have the facilities to create it as an app. It might be in the future, I don't know, maybe something that we could look into, but at this point, it's only going to be a PDF that you can download. As most of you know, that we're hosting a CIU class here for CICs and CLIs. It will be June 7th, and then the 14th, it'll be right in this room from 7 to 10. We have 2 new agencies in the region that we talked about last meeting, and Ambulance 2 has only submitted 1 PCR that I'm aware of, and the town of Patterson, which has submitted 84 PCRs, so they're up and running as far as I know. I don't know if Bob has any update on that. We received 300 doses of Narcan to be distributed throughout the region. The day after we got them, we were down to 150 doses because of the back orders that were outstanding, so we've been using quite a few of them. All the deliverables were sent up to the state in March, at the end of March, and like I said from the Treasurer's report, it was vouchered and paid. The regional training budget for 18-19 was submitted. I don't really get it formally accepted, but we submit what we think that it's going to be needed. On our April protocol meeting, we used a utility called Zoom, which is like an electronic conference call over the internet, and it worked very well, so it might be something that we're going to look at to do some other meetings with. Our regional course sponsorship that's here is going to be, we're due for renewal and inspection in June, so we're getting that ready to go. And there was a change in the distribution of the on-site testing. On-site testing used to give you a temporary status and being able to practice. New York State has changed the statement on the on-site testing. So if you go for on-site testing now, you cannot come in and take a MAC test, and it's not a certification. It's only a notification that what grade you got on the test. So when we heard that, I did send out a message saying that at the New York State CMAC meeting, it was held on May 9th. It was brought to our attention, the regional directors, that the on-site scoring certificate has changed. And the letter now states this report is for your written examination scores and does not represent an official EMS certification. So from that point on, any provider that only has on-site scoring will not be allowed to complete the Hudson Valley Regional MAC exam until they have gotten their official paramedic card. There seemed to be a timing issue from when they took the on-site scoring and whether the paperwork from the course sponsor that was training them caught up to it, and they had some issues where they hadn't completed the course correctly, and therefore they had some practicing that wasn't actually certified to do.
I think we did entertain some discussion of it in Albany and enjoyed it. But if you think about it, whoever was on-site scoring, if they're alleging that the course sponsor didn't do all the paperwork and the guy may not be eligible to take it, at the same time he's taking it there, his class is taking it, at the regular site. So it doesn't really matter. They would all, be at the same risk. So there's absolutely no reason to go on-site scoring anymore because you can't use it.
Well, peace of mind for 12
Yeah.
days.
Well, that's what I said. It's a personal gratification. You pass it or not. Bottom line is they now turn the exams around in 12 days. You're on the result. So
It's kind of a good point.
but the discouragement was they told no one about this. We heard it the first time up there
Yeah.
in Albany, and actually we called back and one or two of our people had taken it on site, got the new letter, and luckily had not, been working as a primary. But the region those two.
What is the time frame from when they take that to getting cards? Is it
12
just
days.
like
12
the rest of
days.
the council?
Yeah, right now, it's taken 12 business days to turn it around. So,
Their contract with the vendor,
Used to
they
be a
have
long
to have
time.
stuff back in 9 days. they can turn around and get things solved.
It used to be 6 to 8 weeks sometimes, so it's much faster, so it's not as severe as it would have been.
And if anybody has people going to an on-site, and they want to cancel now because of this, let the department know, because they do ship, when we found out, they ship the exact amount of tests that for the whole class last year to the, no, they have, if you were sending 5 people up, 5 people's books are in the one that's coming to your site. So they will have enough, but they need to know.
Do we still have to pay? I'm sorry.
There you go, yeah.
You pay extra.
And you still have to pay for on-site scoring? when you
Yes,
go?
$25.
Oh.
Sharon in the back.
Yeah.
Was there an
explanation or a reason as to why they weren't allowing this?
Sharon,
I'm sorry.
give your name when you speak, please.
Speak up for me. Go ahead, can you speak up for me?
I was just wondering if there was a reason explained as to why they won't allow this.
The legal has told them that, they're at risk because apparently they have found some people that sit for the exam who shouldn't have. They either didn't have their clinicals done or something else wasn't done. And that's what I'm saying. It sounds kind of bogus because at the same time that person sits for an exam, the 25 other students in his class are sitting, it's the same night, it's only in different locations, so.
Yeah, the reason they gave us, like Annie was saying, is when the paperwork from the end of course gets up there, all right, it's all supposed to be in order, and when they started going through it, they found things missing. People were getting their blue cards, and they mentioned 1 or 2 showed up with blue cards, but never took a practical exam. Right? So it's not just the state's issue. Their course sponsors out there aren't doing their job. And they were issuing cards, and people were out there doing their thing, and they had to recall cards from people.
Which they still have to do.
Yeah.
Because if you're taking it right in your classroom, they're still giving you the test.
Right.
Right, but they're not issuing the card for 6 days, and hopefully the paperwork catches. Okay. All ALS providers should be live on our portal now, so they should have access to it and should be able to see and change their demographics and verify the information that's there for recertification. So hopefully that works. The Tree of Life ceremony will be in Albany on May 23rd, Tuesday, May 23rd at 11 a.m. It's on the Empire State Plaza in Albany. There's 2 line of duty deaths that will be added to the tree this year. And the Bureau of EMS is welcoming all participants and all vehicles, if anybody wants to bring vehicles up there. Vital Signs this year, 2017, will be held October 25th through the 29th, and it's at Rochester Riverside Convention Center. And they have a website up there you can look at. That's all I have.
All right. Jeff, you were going to do some stuff on the Narcan, the list of providers by county.
You got a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Nick?
Related to Narcan, what's the current percentage of BLS agencies now participating in the Narcan program?
That's what I was just, all right.
About 70% of the BLS agencies carrying Narcan. Some of the agencies are carrying Narcan. Some of the agencies that we don't really see are the BLS FR attached to the fire departments, simply because they do have the ability to get Narcan elsewhere. And if they haven't filed adjunct paperwork with us, we don't know if they're carrying it or not. But as far as the transporting agencies, we do have a firm handle on that. With just Narcan distribution, we've distributed 400 doses this year. Last year, we only sent out 569. So we're going to more than double what we sent out last year. We've been working with the Counter-Drug Task Force that was set up by the New York State Air National Guard and Army National Guard. And they have, within their coalition, Catholic Charities, a couple other agencies. We've been supplying them with data, specifically from Orange County. That is the target that they are working with right now. We do have a monthly meeting last Monday of every month to go over whatever updates they have for us and whatever we have for them. They are beginning to supply us now with things that would relate to scene safety as far as gang activity, and we will be passing that down to the agency leadership just to make them a little bit more aware of what's going on and where it's going on within the districts. Hopefully keep our providers a little bit more safe. I think that pretty much covers the Narcan.
The only thing with the Narcan, if there's an agency that's a certified New York State agency, they should be registered with us if they're carrying Narcan. Even if some of them got them from their local health departments and they get restocked that way, but they still need the adjunct paperwork from the region to give them the authority to carry that. So,
And that's for BLSFRs also?
Yes.
Yes, anybody that's certified through.
And there still does appear to be some confusion with that. If you get it through your local health department as an individual, you cannot carry that Narcan on the ambulance and use it on your ambulance. That you just can't do that. New York State really does frown upon that, even though they created this whole debacle with you can get it from just about any place. Yeah, it's good that it's out there. It's bad that they did not really come up with a concise plan of how to distribute and track. As well, they don't really track the usages. And what they did find out is EMS may be the stepchild, but we have the best statistics. And we do keep better stats than health departments.
I just want to clarify what you said, okay, Jeff, that if we get it from a health department, we can't use it on an ambulance.
If you are registered with us and you have had to get your replacement from the health department,
Okay, then we can.
that's fine.
Okay.
But as long as you are registered with us, because shortages do occur.
I just wanted that clarified,
Yep.
only because I'm and that's stepchild.
Yep, exactly. Move on to EPCRs. This, the MAC meeting on June 5th. ESO will be here after the MAC meeting at 12:30. ESO. To do a short presentation. And they will also be at Mid-Hudson Regional on the 6th from 10 a.m. to 12 in the atrium. And again, going through what you can do with EPCRs, also discussing the hospital hub, and discussing ways that eventually EMS data will be a back and forth with the hospitals. That also covers the EPCR tag. Last month we had, or probably 6 weeks ago, we had Image Trend here for a similar meeting. Fairly well attended at both sites. And anybody that has questions about EPCRs, it doesn't necessarily have to be specific to ESO. They are taking more of a vendor-neutral approach and answering pretty much general questions on how to get it established and how to make things work. Or if you're an agency that wants to compare and shop vendors, be a good opportunity to show up.
What time are those seminars?
12:30 would be here on June 5th, and June 6th would be 10 a.m. to noon at the Mid-Hudson Regional in the atrium conference room. Anything else, Bill?
Regional Bridge.
Regional Bridge, or actually the implementation of the long-awaited Elite Bridge in New York City. According to Mike Taylor, he said last week it'll be up and running in 30 days. So maybe by the end of summer we'll actually see it. I know that all the data dictionary updates have been done. All the vendors have been given the data dictionaries and time to make whatever changes they needed to make in their mapping. One of the topics that came up at the mutual aid tag last week was tracking the use of mutual aid. And that will actually be a mandatory field. So as a state, they're going to be able to track how much mutual aid is being used. And more importantly, as a region, we'll be able to take a better look at that and hopefully address and fix some of the situations.
Jeff?
Yes.
I know I had a conversation with you the other day, and I was hoping now the move towards Nemesis 3.0.
Yep.
That's supposed to be, they said that
It has been done. It's been out to the vendors, and according to Mike, that'll be up and running end of June timeframe. So the big step from there will be transitioning the agency platforms. And I don't think that there's an agency within the Hudson Valley region whose vendor is already not NEMSIS 3 compliant. And what they had been waiting for to pull the trigger on that was for Image Trend to fix the quirks that had been happening with New York.
Anything on the dispatch center diversion program from Westchester?
I've got another draft to hand back to Dr. Papish later on, and we can probably finalize that before the next MAC meeting.
What are we trying to do with that?
Basically, just establish a concise policy so that the hospitals are notifying the dispatch centers, and the dispatch centers are going to notify upon dispatch whether a facility is on diversion.
Are they going to have access to the Westchester site, or are you going to expect the local hospital to call
the
them?
Westchester site.
No,
So,
are the county OEMs going to have access?
Everybody gets access.
All right, so then they'll get it, they'll know. Okay.
The plan is really to get rid of diversion. I mean, that's the
ideally.
Yes.
best practice.
Mhm.
The long-term plan. I mean, well, I'll talk about it.
All righty. Any questions of the staff for the QA/QI committee? If not, medical director's report.
Diversion.
Diversion.
Well, actually, should I just...
Dr. Papish, keep your voice up.
Okay. Well, what I was going to suggest, maybe I'll just go with the REMAC report.
Put it all together, go for it.
All at once. I mean, from the medical director's report standpoint, the only thing I'd like to echo what Jeff is talking about getting everybody onto EPCR. I mean, this is, I say this repeatedly, but the only way that you can know what's going on in the region is if we have good data about it. The only way, I mean, Dutchess County just came out with a report about how often ambulances are not getting out or getting out. The only way to know the extent of mutual aid in our region is by having the data. Obviously, some agencies have something to hide, but the vast majority of agencies are well-intended and productive. And without big data, we can't really analyze our situation. And so far, in my conversations with BLS agencies that are not on it, the majority of the explanations are its cost. The cost is really pretty trivial. What's the cost now per PCR? Like $1?
It's between 50 and 75 cents.
Plus an app. I mean, plus an iPad, or $150. So, I mean, for agencies that can afford an ambulance, I mean, it would seem self-explanatory that this is something that's affordable now. With regards to the REMAC, the last meeting was it March that we had our last? The meeting, about 50% of the discussion was about diversion. And we came very close. We had motions on the floor to actually ixnay diversion, which I think most people at this table would probably agree is great. And it's really a best practice across the country because when you eliminate it, everybody manages to take care of their patients. That being said, at the last minute, we sort of tabled it pending an effort to make a more collaborative approach with hospitals so that we would get buy-in. Thinking about that, I'm not positive that we'll get buy-in, but where things stand now is we have a draft letter we're going to send out. We're going to try to get all the players involved, and then hopefully make that motion and vote on it at the next meeting. The other topics, that was the majority of the big chunk of the REMAC meeting. The other things we talked about, well, there was a report from the RTAC about pediatric patients, which I know the the EMS official protocol is secondary signs. To define, the issue is what defines a pediatric patient as opposed to an adult patient. And The trauma organizations, their general view is age 14 up until the cutoff of age 15 is a pediatric patient, which is a discrepancy with our protocols. That being said, I think it makes the most sense. And the discussion ensued, and basically the people concluded that there's obviously got to be regional variation. One of the issues that arises is that when a pediatric patient, say a 14-year-old, is brought to a level 2 trauma center that doesn't have pediatrics, not a pediatric trauma center, their surgeons can't operate on somebody under 18 of age, usually for malpractice issues, as a result of malpractice issues, liability. And so recognizing that, I think the decision was, or there wasn't really any kind of a motion made, but we discussed and agreed that the majority of patients that are 15 and under are pediatrics, recognizing that at certain knowing your system is really what's the most important thing, and knowing where you can bring patients so that they can get cared for at that facility. The other big issues, also from the RTAC, you touched on this, there was I guess some feedback from the RTAC about trauma patients not being brought in on oxygen, and it was a concern amongst the trauma surgeons that were brought, especially with patients with TBI, any patients that had potential head trauma, that really were at risk of having a head injury, should really be on oxygen. Then I guess they're going to start a quality program about that. I didn't know that. So we'll see what transpires there. The only other two things that we discussed, well, we discussed potentially sending a draft letter to the Commissioner of Health about non-Article 28 facilities being able to receive EMS patients. This is where things are trending nationwide. Hasn't happened in New York, and I don't know if we've actually sent that letter out, but to find out more information about where things stand with regards to that. And the last thing, I guess it was sort of timely, was a brief discussion about EMS cybersecurity, which, given events that have recently transpired, seemed noteworthy. Arshad was talking about the fact that 1/3 of all digital healthcare has been hacked, it's estimated, mainly due to one giant hack. But the fact that that occurs, we should all be cognizant in this day and age of the software and the hardware that is actually at our facilities, because all of your data is, potentially at risk. And there's agency-level software available that people can purchase, and if anybody needs information on that, we can provide it. And then they were talking about getting a password manager. Everybody should have a password manager these days, if not for cybersecurity purposes, because how do you remember all your passwords? And I think that was pretty much everything we talked about.
Any questions of Dr. Papish?
I'd just like to reiterate what Dr. Papish said about data. I look at data is dollars. If you have good data, you can make arguments to the state legislature that we're doing things, we're positive, we're reducing Medicaid costs because EMS is out there doing what they're doing. I think the state will look at that and maybe throw some funding towards us as EMS. Now, does that trickle down to the local provider? You hope it does, if there's no training or other issues that are there. But without data, you cannot make arguments. And that's really what I think for those agencies that are not, or due to their claim costs, in a way, it will be helpful to them to get on board. We capture the data that we need to make arguments for funding. I don't know if anybody has any objection. Anything else to add? Data is important.
The implications, financially are huge. Medically, it's even bigger. If you look at the software that's coming out in the healthcare arena regarding big data analytics is going to be significant over the next couple of years, and there's really no reason we shouldn't be on that bandwagon. And we may find that some of the things that we're doing are stupid, and that we don't need to do them. Say, how many years have you guys broken your backs putting people on backboards? It was research trials that established that probably weren't doing that much in that arena, and there's probably lots of other stuff that we don't need to be doing and other things that we do, and we won't find out unless we really have the information. So if you guys can encourage any of the agencies that still are not on EPCR to attend these seminars so that we can, you know, get them on board.
Anything else? If not, training committee? Anybody have a report from them? No report? All right. Public information, Desiree, nothing?
Their meeting was their last meeting was canceled, so they haven't had a meeting.
Okay.
Their next meeting is June 20th, I believe.
All right. Transportation, Glenn, you got anything?
Nothing out there is ending, right?
All right. Public information? Nothing? Legislative bylaws?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right.
Legislation, bylaws, we have nothing pending as far as any changes, additions, or amendments. Legislatively, I just want to bring a couple of things to your attention. We just spoke about the Senate bill on making EMS an essential service.
I'm sorry, say that again, Albie, on what? The Senate bill on what?
The Senate bill on making EMS an essential service. That is Senate Bill number S, as in Sam, 2770. And that was put in by Patty Ritchie from the 48th Senate District. Right now, it's sitting in the Senate committee since the 17th of January. So there's nothing from the Assembly at this time. It's just a Senate bill. So we won't hear from them for a solid 6 months, I'm sure. But it's in. We haven't been in essential service for over 50 years. Do not hold your breath. Something in the Assembly right now, Assembly Bill 01669. It's not in the Senate yet. It is to provide tax credit to certain volunteer firefighters, ambulance workers, and volunteer emergency medical personnel of up to $1,100 for qualifying service. And the bill does define what a qualifying service is. We are a qualifying service. Right now it's been referred to the Ways and Means Committee on the 12th of January. Easy 6 months before you see it go anyplace. Another interesting bill in the Senate provides for the use of glucagon, emergency injection kits, by persons other than licensed healthcare professionals, which we are. It provides for expanded use of epinephrine auto-injector devices in schools in emergency circumstances. Again, no action from the Senate. This was put in by Rosenthal, who was an active Assembly member. It's been referred to the Health Committee on the 9th of January. And we do know that federally, FASO just put in a bill. I read it today. At my age, I'm forgetting what the hell it said. I'll do it on my next report, because I have to report on the TAG committee.
Yep.
And
By then, you'll remember it?
I'll ponder it too.
Okay.
That's my report at this time.
Okay. I skipped over Policies Procedure Committee. Nothing from Greg?
No, it's not
All right. EPCR we covered. Community paramedicine, anything from Mike? Anything on that?
I think there have been some meetings involved last week, just to see if we can get some support of the nurses. Home care was supported. And you hear how the meeting went.
Yeah.
They were supportive, you said?
They're trying to get their
Home
support.
care is, say nurses, they don't, I see a second coming, and I expect them to roll it, but, you know, again, there's legislation, there's a bill, and it does put physicians, hospitals, healthcare, and EMS in there, so it's helpful.
All right.
Mr. Parrish, before we get too far, remember, so that the report, you can put it in my report. FASO put in a bill to expand the type of, the amount of emergency medication that can be on all airplanes. For those of you that don't know, all airplanes have advanced life support equipment, all medications that we're familiar with, but does not have medications for pediatrics. So he put in a bill, supported by both houses, bipartisan, that they will expand for all airlines pediatric medication for airlines. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
All right, D, nominating committee.
Okay. We have written confirmation for people who will be running for president, vice president, and treasurer. And we also have a person who is present tonight who will run for secretary. So we have Rich Parrish for president, Robert Cuomo for vice president, Nicholas
Zetke.
for treasurer, and Nicholas Trio for secretary. So are there any nominations from the floor for any of these offices?
Don't be bashful, folks.
Everybody can jump up anytime. If not, I would entertain, say 3 times, any further nominations for these offices other than what has been already read? Number 3, any further nominations for any of the offices which I have read? Now I would entertain a motion to accept these 4 officers.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? You got a discussion? Oh.
He's seconding it.
motion.
He made the motion,
Oh.
you're gonna second it, how's that?
You had me excited there for a minute, Guy. I thought we were
Oh,
gonna
yeah, I
discuss
thought
it.
you were coming
Yeah.
forward. All right,
Because I saw you wave.
all in favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
We're here again. All right. All right, State EMS. Kim,
I'm going to defer to Andy because I was on.
all right.
The topic du jour of the meeting was the EMTCC level of care. Those of you not that familiar with it, just I guess the way to summarize it is that the new educational standards in the federal feds, there is no comparison to EMTCC. So New York State has an outdated curriculum, outdated exam series, and a level that doesn't qualify federally for funds. So the choices really were, what to do with it. Many people have urged current CCs to go up and upgrade to a paramedic level or drop back to an AMT level. The TAG did a lot of work on a very
Great report.
And had looked at some hotbed areas, actually Nassau and Suffolk County. Nassau and Suffolk County have a lot of CC services, as do some of the upstate communities. And they would be very hard to hit if it was taken out of the certification process. The committee, or the TAG, actually reported back that they should do 4 things. Number 1, they should stop all new CC courses from starting after September of this year. 2, they should eliminate the the refresher classes for CC 18 months after that. 3rd, they should continue to allow CCs to refresh under the CME refresher basis. And 4, that the department should instruct and facilitate a distance learning program that all CCs would be eligible to take and upgrade to a paramedic level. They could take that course online, they could actually work with course sponsors locally with a skills component. Well, obviously, people busted Troy for the meeting. And as somebody mentioned earlier, the medical standards have actually 12 representatives, physicians that would be the quorum. And this thing got delayed so long that one had to leave. so they could not accept the recommendation of the committee. So carry over to CMAC at the state council. And with some negotiation, it actually was revised so that they would stop the CC exam, stop any new CC course, excuse me, as of January of 2018. They would allow refresher through the CV process. They would curtail the actual refresher for CCs. That's where I don't remember exactly what they finally decided.
I thought it was just 18 months after.
18 months after the
Yeah,
January
after the
date.
January. Yep.
And they will, again, urge the state to put together this program. A lot of emotions, obviously back and forth, but it does seem that this will be the best alternative. Some of the surveys show that some people wanted to move up and couldn't because of the distance to travel and the cost of doing it. And others said that they would not move up because they were just, a lot of them were volunteers and they had no interest in coming back for this additional training and responsibility. So it is still, it's a little bit better than it was when we went up there, but it's still a very sore spot among many people. I think other than that, as we point out, some of the discussions were in education, concerning the on-site scoring, concerning the fact that because of the budget cuts, instructors will no longer be notified when their cards are, when their certification is expiring. It costs too much just to do that. So we're probably presuming that there are going to be a lot less instructors, who forget that they have to update. So correspondence would be advised that the department is pretty much laying at your feet. You have to make sure that you keep tabs on your instructors and you make sure that they stay trained. As Rich pointed out, the factory program's dead. They really don't know what they're going to do. They just don't have the money or the staff to do anything. They said that they're understaffed. Meantime, we're looking over their shoulders and sitting in the corners like 6 department staff, like looking at their cell phone.
Just sitting there.
Yeah, giving nothing. The fellow saying, get back in the car, drive over to Albany, go do some work. So it's not going to be nice or good. I think that other than that, I'm trying to think of the significant part of the committees.
What I got is CMAC Advisory 9703. They sunset that. That's a traumatic brain injury. But then listening to the REMAC about not giving oxygen, they're putting a tag together to review the BLS protocols. Dr. Daly out of Albany is chairing that. There was some issues about us using the regional protocols. 800.15 says that regions can adopt protocols, so we're moving forward with that. Sponsor renewals are due June 30th. The fast track instructor program is tapering off, and that's where you have to take the NAMSI course, then do the New York State update, which is a Moodle or a Noodle?
Noodle.
Moodle?
Wait, a what?
That's what I'm...
You want a Moodle site.
A Moodle site. It's a learning platform.
With an
M, yeah.
Use it in the schools.
All right. All right.
The one that goes like this.
You'll learn something new every day.
All right. So you do that, then you have to go do your CLI, CIC. The instructor exam right now is about 80% CLI, 70% of the CICs are passing it.
Except for 2. 2 guys can't pass.
Yeah, there's 2 that, even with a lot of remediation. The check and eject, we talked about that. It's a 1cc syringe. They had to take out the custom that was made for adult and pediatric. So when you're training them, it's the 1cc. There was a discussion about changing the deltoid back to the thigh. That's dead. Budget constraints we talked about. It's down. It was 6.3 last year for the office. It was 5. Their budget is 5.7, but they've been capped at 4.9. So it's a. Lee talked about, and I've talked about this here before, the Regional Health Emergency Preparedness Coalition. This is a program that all the hospitals were mandated to be involved in, and they've always been trying to pull EMS into it. Well, now, according to Lee, the regions have to be involved in it, and they said that the chair or the program director, and I haven't heard anything, have you, about it. There's a big push in the feds to do away with funding hospital grant programs for preparedness. that they want to go to coalitions. So they're looking at, is it like Westchester Med and all their hospitals are a coalition? Is it like HealthQuest, all their hospitals, are that considered a coalition? That type of thing. But again, there is no grant money in there for EMS involvement. So stay tuned for that.
We're not essential.
Yeah. They would like the regions to start tracking EpiPen usage, where we're going with that. They're reviewing the statewide mobilization plan. Mergers and transfers, 7 people closed, 7 transferred their operating certificates, 6 BLS first responder agencies closed, and there are 5 new ones. All right, then the next meeting is September 26th and 27th. Anything else? All right, that's the state. All right. TAG, mutual aid.
TAG, mutual aid. TAG, I'm it. The TAG committee met on the 11th of this month here at the regional office, and we had very good attendance. Of the 6 counties in our region, 5 attended. The one that did not was Putnam, because Bob Cuomo knew that I was running the meeting.
That's a vicious lie.
Present, strike that. Not present were most of the 911 centers, who are also involved in this mutual aid policy set down by the state. One that did attend was Sullivan County. He was on the air. He did not say a word. I do meet with him this coming week, beginning of next week, to discuss it. The whole thing about the TAG committee revolves around New York State Policy 1206. For those of you that are not familiar with it, you must go online, look it up, print it out, and get very familiar with it. It was designed to review how mutual aid is handled in all counties in the state of New York. No secret, as was mentioned by Jeff a little while ago, that the state is monitoring how much mutual aid is being utilized. And is it being utilized properly? Policy 12-06 defines mutual aid very clearly on how it's supposed to work with volunteer services and commercial services based on their licensure. It is not being followed right now. It's a sensitive issue because both commercial and volunteer services have allegiance to many of their neighboring squads. And this policy is telling you strictly that you must follow, first, those agencies that possess the licensure, the license to operate in that area. For instance, you may have a relationship with a neighboring volunteer squad, but they do not have a license for the next neighboring area in case they need mutual aid. The one that does may be a commercial service. Statute, not only this policy, but statute states that it's the licensed provider that must serve. Now, the question comes, well, what happens if that licensed provider that is going to go might be 45 minutes away? Logic dictates that you will have arrangements made with those neighboring squads to answer mutual aid at the approval of those that possess the operating certificate. 911 needs to participate, but they're not in it, and they've all been notified to come to the meetings. We invited Rich Robinson from the State Department, EMS Division, Senior Representative, to attend, and he was here. The discussion by him was, although policy is not statute, it is policy. The policy is coming from the department, and it must be followed. An example is we have the Constitution of the United States, and when things must be adjusted, Congress makes a bill. That's basically what a policy is. So I urge you all to download 12-06 read it thoroughly, and get to understand that that's the job of this TAG committee, is to educate all of the counties to get on board and to straighten out the mutual aid problem that we have. All county community EMS coordinators that were there spoke of their respective response issues. There isn't a county in our region that does not have mutual aid problems. The cores are not getting out. They're leaning on mutual aid neighbors, they're leaning on the commercial services. We are not getting out. And those that do not recognize it are not facing the truth. We must be truthful with ourselves to rectify the problem. And Andy and Mark, who was the chair of the committee, we both urged everybody to start talking to their squads and get the problems spoken and rectified. Rich Robinson offered his services to come to council meetings to discuss, and he also offered his services to go before county executives to discuss the mutual aid problem in the region and to make them aware that they must be involved in their county to get the problem rectified. Another discussion was taking patients to alternative designations like urgent cares. We know we cannot deliver patients to that, but somewhere along the line, we must talk to our patients. We must educate the community on what is an emergency room call and what is an urgent care call. And that should reduce not only the overflow in the emergency room, but the overflow of unnecessary transports by our agencies. Retention and recruitment. Blah, blah, blah. How many years have we been talking about it? It continues to be an issue. If you get a member that says, I can only be with you, I'm going to college, I'll be with you for 2 years, take them for 2 years. A lot of agencies say, well, they're only temporary, why should we invest the time, invest the money? It's a human being, it's a body that's willing to take the training and may be with us just for a short period of time, but continues to build our ranks. In Orange County, Pine Bush seemed to be a problem. That was discussed at great length. Everybody participated, which we were all happy about. We told them that look around the room, this TAG committee, you EMS coordinators are the leaders in this region. And if all of us in this room cannot come up with some suggestions, then we're doomed. So we all are committed to meet again after this meeting and in between the next, and to come up with some way to approach the services in our region to get on board with 1206, understand the ramifications, and understand the difficulties that we're having with getting crews out. In summation, I did mention that Rich said that he would speak to county leaders if need be. He did urge us as the leaders in our own community, in our own agencies, to speak to our county leaders and let them know there's an issue. If they don't know, they can't help. And he will make himself available to attend local council meetings. They did speak of also incentives for volunteers. Old hat, low sap, tax relief. We know that there's a bill in the Assembly for tax relief to expand it even more, a little bit more money. That takes time. We need to address the issues now. With that, any questions from anybody? Or Andy or myself?
Kim?
1206, first of all, Rockland does have their mutual aid plan in place. We revisited, notice is sent out to all the captains in July, we're supposed to change offices in July and June, so that hopefully they'll look at it if they don't know about it, if we want to make any changes or modifications. 1206, if you look at it, you have to kind of scroll all the way down to page 8, because the last 6 pages of that policy statement is a very simple template to follow. There's the first 2 pages of it, 6-page attachment. The first 2 pages are to be completed by the agency. The second two pages are by the EMS coordinator, and the last 2 pages have to come to the region for signature or approval. So it's really not that bad. I actually went so far as to fill out the first 2 pages and send it to the courts and say, modify it however you want. I did the research, found out what agencies were authorized to operate in their territory for them. Rockland has it's not unique, I'm sure you all have a similar problem, where we have like 5 or 6 agencies that have operating territory, only one domicile. Those other 5 agencies aren't on our communication system, don't have central dispatch. So it would be ridiculous for me to call Empress to see if they can come over the bridge when there's somebody 5 miles down the road, just to reinforce. So everybody doesn't have to think that they have to go one way. It's just a matter of documenting it. We put on there, because of geographic location. We do give the opportunity to a local provider or anybody we happen to know is in town. But the piece that is missing from this whole thing that people don't realize, and one of my agencies have given on it, if you have a disaster and you claim funding from FEMA, whatever the funding source is, the state, in their fine print, you have to have a mutual aid agreement. One of my agencies that was straggling back, and going, no, they weren't interested in participating, came running to me as we were doing it, I need a mutual aid agreement. I said, no, you missed the first 6 meetings. So if you want to sign now, but I'm not going to falsify information for you. So should you decide, not that you're planning on a disaster tomorrow, but should you unfortunately have a disaster and look for reimbursement funding, you need that plan. Doesn't matter what everybody thinks, doesn't matter what anybody wants to think. Our county executive can tell all 16 agencies what to do. He doesn't run it. They're all independent agencies. We don't have a municipal agency in our county. So, barking up history. But again, just to go back to the beginning, we have one in place. It came to the region 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Is it perfect? I won't tell you it's perfect, but I'll tell you it meets the policy statement. And all our agencies do participate.
Andy?
So
All right.
the mutual aid the policy that's in the certification inspection packet for your ambulance, why is that not acceptable when there's one already in there? When your ambulance is inspected and certified, there's a mutual aid. Part of that paperwork is setting up a mutual aid policy in there, which is then filed, ours is filed with 911 and is part of our inspection package. Why isn't that acceptable?
We never actually, I chaired the committee that rewrote its proposals. And basically when we were doing that, it was actually to prevent the abuse of mutual aid. And so it was just meant to be the existing policy, not talking about the recertification packet and to redo it. Because we had a lot of problems, and basically was that services who could not prove would just automatically bang out mutual aid and use it in place of staff. And so that's an issue because not just a timid issue, but if you're a building service right now, and you are responding to another area that you're not licensed to be in, it's not part of the recognized mutual aid plan, you can't bill Medicare, right? You would be committing Medicare fraud, right, to do that. Some services have been well over the edge with that. They have been doing it for years, and Medicare audits them, they're going to be trouble. But what we looked at was actually just to put together a document that was last 600 pages, which would allow a service to not have to count on a commercial or county-wide service, but to identify, particularly to a communication center, who they would be using, from their neighbors when they needed to actually have mutual aid. We even looked at it from the north part of your territory, the south, east, the west, whatever it happens to be. So we did 1206 to interface with the recertification packet. So I can't answer why they do it, but 1206 is the
It's
existing.
4800 in the list of policies you have to have. One was always mutual aid. They just never defined it. So they came up with a policy statement and just never merged the two.
But the thought behind 1206 was, and that template was to give everybody an opportunity to figure out who their best responder would be. And even we had discussed the fact that your neighbor, if they don't approve what they're building, but somebody two towns away has approved in their building, they may be the more appropriate choice because they can get out quicker to the patient's side. What we wanted was to get on paper, put it in front of the EMS coordinator, who could look at it and say, this makes sense in my county, or you know what, hold on, they're trying to pull somebody from 3 towns away, which makes no sense at all. And so that was the process. The board decides what they think is the best. If it's kosher with the EMS coordinator, then they approve it. Then the region actually, is the person, the agency that's supposed to make sure all of this is
I mean, it's just to get everybody's eyes on the document, so everybody has a little bit of piece of it.
Exactly.
But at the operations meeting on the state level, correct me if I'm wrong, when this was being hammered out for how many meetings, get care to the patient. Stop with the paper, you know, on who exactly, and you can't cross this line and put a brick wall up. Let's take care of the patient. We can hash it out later. The patient needs care. So people will get really crazy about
I
it.
think that's because we're a fire department base, ours is up to date. We just did our,
Kelly, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
I got, that's
of
because
the
we're fire
ambulance-
department
with the
based.
fire department base, ours is up to date. So I think maybe that's the issue, is why you're not getting them from fire departments, is because they're already on file and they're up to date. So they're not doing additional paperwork on the EMS side.
Just so I close out my report, Kim's County has been the first one to submit the plan, and it's already a couple of years. She's compliant. That's Kim. And we have 2 other counties that are compliant, Orange and Ulster. So 3 of the 6.
Ulster is compliant?
Ulster is compliant.
When did that happen?
I spoke to, his name is Rick or Rich also?
Rich.
Rich. I have had communications with Rich telephonic, and at the meeting, he said he is compliant. The 1206.
That's news to us.
Well, I'll find out. This is what, again, the discussion is telephonically, and at our tag meeting, compliant. I do have your mutual aid plan, so maybe you, as your position, sir, reach out to Rich and talk about it. But the tag committee is active, and we will pursue getting everybody on board. Thank you.
Albie, just want to add that Putnam is in the process of revising their mutual aid plan, so as it's being revised, I'll make sure that it complies with 1206.
Thank you, sir. And we will have a meeting before the next council meeting. I'll let everybody know.
Right. Any questions? Thank you for your efforts in that area. Collaborative protocol update. I don't have a name alongside that. Who's?
I did that before, that we're all updated as far as the providers. Everybody is up and running on the new collaborative protocols. The apps are up and running on Android and iPhones. And we're just waiting, trying to get our medical control physicians to catch up.
Right, Jimmy first. I have the regional EMS task force. I sent out emails to the coordinators and asked them to take a look at what's going on in their counties, something similar to what John's had in the Dutchess area. All right, not an awful lot of feedback. The only one that called me was Frank about what's going on there. And something that I want to bring out here is, tag on to what Albie is saying, is the mutual aid and this task force, really, how do we get the BLS agencies involved in the region? They're out there, they're standalone agencies. They don't think they report or respond to anybody. Bill and I had a conversation prior to the meeting. We used to do an EMS conference, we used to do an awards dinner. People knew who we were. Now we're not doing an awful lot of things. How do we get the EMS community back involved and we become a system? We are not a system. I don't have the answers. Yeah, Dee.
Well, Tim's our county president, but the thing is that we have a hard time just getting agencies to come to council meetings. We've told them over and over again, it's an ideal way to catch up on a lot of information that's going on, not only in Dutchess County, but along in the state. So the thing that is that we can't get them to come to the meeting. We told them the captains don't have to come, they just need to send a delegate who can get that information and bring it back to them. And there'll be, some of these agencies will be the first ones to complain that nobody's doing anything for them in Dutchess County. That yet we're we're having meetings, we do our awards, we do a recognition. We just can't get them out, whether there are so few members in some of these agencies, and they're just worn out, or they just have too much on their plate. They just can't get what I mean.
We've also offered remote access to meetings. That's not really helped a lot. We do, right? But in general, that's a great advantage to be able to have remote access and folks aren't participating. We probably have it better than most counties, though. We do have large participation, just not posting half.
Sharon?
Yep, Sharon Fraser. We had 3 or 4 agencies that called in online our last EMS meeting, council meeting. So this helped.
Albie?
We're doing that in Putnam too.
At the TAG committee, the mutual aid TAG committee meeting, this was discussed. It's a universal problem. It's not to you alone. And it's not only universal to our region, it's universal to the state of New York. As I said to the leaders in the TAG committee meeting, I'm looking around this room right here, we are the leaders of the region. And if we can't come, I know that we all have an idea in our minds on to improve one facet somewheres inside our own system to make it better. We have to start discussing it here. I know if we went around to everybody in the room, someone has one thought on how to make it better. And if we put it together, conglomerately, then that's a start to improve, to make the system that you're talking about, Rich. All I know is, I can only speak for my county, and yet I'm hearing from all other counties, this is a universal issue, and we're dying. We're dying.
Last year, New York State lost 20-something agencies. Year to date, they've lost 17 already. So it's not getting better out there.
So unless we do exert our energy as leaders in this room to come up with a thought and put it all together, and maybe add another hour and bring out these ideas. I'm concerned about Sullivan County. For the most rural that you have, maybe Putnam, but all of it is bigger. And we're dying up there. And I'm feeling it as a commercial service. My fellow volunteers are feeling it, and it's not getting better. So, I just urge everybody to start thinking of ways, just come up with one thought. We may overlap with that same thought, but at least we can get the energy flowing to get this thing going. Because Rich, you're right, we don't have a system. It's not like it was 20 years ago.
Well, it's fractured.
Well.
Yep. Now, not going to put you on the spot tonight to say, yeah, give me your thoughts, but you got to come back with some thoughts on, what do we do to move EMS forward in this region?
A suggestion for you, Mr. Chairman, is that perhaps you direct everybody in this room at the next council meeting to come up with one thought only. If it overlaps, so be it. But I'm sure we'll come up with some different thoughts, and then you can set another tag, just make it part of the EMS task force, or the mutual aid tag, to move forward with these ideas. And then, whether we have a big forum, for all of the coordinators, 911 people, to invite them to talk about something, come up with some thought. If we don't start moving, it's going to get more difficult to rectify the problems we're facing today.
You mentioned about the county execs. I have my opinion of our county exec, but how do you get them involved? They don't want to know anything about EMS. That's the impression I get.
Very fortunate for this rural county of ours that the legislative chairman in Sullivan County is an EMT for 30 years. I have his ear. I've been meeting with him. The council president has met with us, with the two of us. So we have things moving there. I know that there'll be changes in our county. but that's one way. So maybe you can direct everybody next time, come back with one thought, and we can pass those little thoughts on to the TAG or the task force to move things along. So,
Tim?
I think that some of this has to come from the physicians, and this should be brought up at the REMAC. You know, everybody's got to get their recertification package signed, and, you know, some of these doctors will sign, and next time they see the squad again, it's 3 years when it's time to sign. You know, if you want the squads to start falling into line and complying with things, I think the physicians are in a position to put some pressure on, you know, if you're not going to follow the protocols and, you know, work with the regional protocols and stuff, I'm not going to sign your recert. So I think it should go to,
That's
to the REMAC too.
That's my one idea is, I think we need a medical directors meeting, not just the REMAC, but all of medical directors from the agencies need to be involved.
These people are signing their sheets, and they're not, the next time they see them again, like I said, it's 3 years. There's no, you know.
just direct everybody to come up, all the delegates to come up with one idea, and we'll get the ball rolling. Just a suggestion.
No, and there's a lot of people in here, a lot of you have been around, there's some new faces here. Yeah, we need ideas. We've got to look at how we move this forward. Dot, you got something?
Yeah, Dot Balin. We're talking about leaders and delegates and physicians and all the chiefs. Nobody's concentrating on the Indians that you need, okay? You're talking about complying for licensures. Why can't every agency be a licensed agency? Why does it only have to be one or two or the others, okay?
That's the
You're
statute.
talking about
Unless we change
mutual
the
aid.
statute.
Well, hold on. You're talking about mutual aid when I know in my town, we've had mutual aid well over 30 years with our surrounding agencies. We never had to get permission or okays or anything else because we're all volunteers, so that we're all able to service each other. Our problem is we don't have enough Indians to do the work. How do you get people to want to volunteer to come into these agencies? And also, some of our volunteers are being recruited out of our volunteer agencies because they need a paycheck to support their families. Okay? So, why can't we start? You said 20 years ago. What did we do 20 years ago that we're not doing today? Less bureaucracy is one of them. Okay?
True.
And a lot less having to run meeting to meeting. I'm not four nights a week at meetings. I don't know how much more you want people to do. Unless you get more people interested in volunteering and becoming part of an EMS system, you got to start at the bottom. You can't start at the top. Start at the bottom. That's where you need your people. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry about it. Bob?
I agree with you, but I also think that it comes from the top because, and I've actually spoken about this at seminars to talk about recruitment and retention. The leaders of our volunteer agencies need to take a big gulp and take a good hard look at how they operate that agency. And they need to ask themselves, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What are we doing that's turning people away? Are people leaving our ranks because of problems within? I'll bet you you could sit down and think about your own agency, and you could probably think of a few things that could be, contributing to losing members. Okay. Because you know what? If you don't solve those issues, it's going to keep happening, and it's going to keep getting worse. I'll just give you an example of an agency that I know very well who was unnamed. Okay. There was a husband and wife team who were both active EMTs who were very enthusiastic about doing their volunteer work, and they were very active. Okay. Well, the wife got sick. The wife got cancer. Okay, and the husband had to take care of her and also had to take care of his job and, you know, everything else. And because of that, his level of activity diminished. Well, the agency that he was a member of threw him out. Okay? With no opportunity for appeal or recourse or anything. Okay? Now, if you were that guy, would you want to join up again? Okay? If you were a friend of that person, would you want to be a member of that agency? We have to look at that. And if we don't look at that, it's not going to get any better.
Move the meeting along, we can get something.
Yeah, but you wanted an idea?
One thing coming in at the next meeting, and then we have a starting point.
All right, so, thanks for your input. New business, BLSFR Craigsmore FD, that's just for
information purposes, that they have applied for a BLSFR.
Okay.
And,
letters were sent out for expiring delegates and alternates. 2 counties responded. Kim, anything on awards?
The awards were selected. We're not going to announce the names tonight, because some will be given out counties in the next week.
Okay.
We don't do the dinner anymore. We've allowed the counties to arrange it. So maybe after maybe the June 1st, we just send an email out to everybody and tell everybody who the winners were.
Congratulate them. Yep.
And the state will be selected on Friday, so they'll probably be getting a letter whoever wins that.
Good.
But once again, we need more applications for the awards. It's like everything else. It's free.
It's free at the region, or I mean at the state. There was like 3 regions didn't do anything.
And you can write it up now. If something happens in your county, you can write it up now, keep it in a folder, submit it into your, whoever who's going to be reviewing it. And next year at this time, if you decide that you want to change it or something, just tell them you're going to swap it out. But I try and put a little folder together and try and keep track of some of this stuff.
Yeah, I get them by email and I just put them in a file, but it's still begging people to send in their nominations, and it's last minute, and we're seeing things out there. We should be writing them up. And again, recognizing the people on the street. We're not doing that. We don't do a good job of that.
It's not only on the regional level or the county level, because on the state level, I can tell you, once reviewing them now, the youth category has 5 applications for the statewide. That's it. I think the most we have is 8 in the category. That's it. 16 regions, that's sad.
Alrighty, and we already taken care of election of officers. Anything else? Anybody in the back chairs have anything they need to say? If not, Sharon, go ahead.
Can we have a contact person to submit ideas we come up with for our improving meetings?
Yep.
We would be more than happy.
Yep, you can copy Bill on it.
So, I'm sorry, send Bill.
To Bill. All right. All right. Anything else to come before the council? Remember your charge. Think up at least one thing for our next meeting.
I gave you mine.
That don't count. Got to come up with another one. All right. Motion's in order.
I'll do it.
Got it?
I got a motion.
What's this?
We're done.
Motion from Guy.
And Matt seconded it. See, you're watching me. You're supposed to watch the audience.